In the last episode, we saw Ryan and Maria explore the different versions of their future relationship. A detailed discussion of what the monogamy and polyamory will entail helped them get closer to a mutual agreement for a polyamorous relationship. What they could not agree on was whether or not it should be conditional or unconditional polyamory. In this episode, we will see them confront the reality of the opposing destinations and see if they are able to find mutual grounds. Let's take a look. So, you heard this more refined version of poly partnership with what kind of veto she envisioned. Is that something that you can be on board with or not? And if the answer, like I said, I'm not gonna say, well, this is right. It is what you're comfortable with, it's what she's comfortable with.
Again, we haven't bred the horse to have the horse for the cart yet. That's how far the cart's away from the horse.
Sure, but remember, you guys are stuck because everybody thinks everybody's pulling them all this direction. But if we can agree, what would that look like, and the two of you actually decide to that, then great. We can see, can you actually make all these steps? That's a whole different story.
You know what? If there are crystal clear boundaries between the two of us, of this is the steps, this is what it's going to be, this is how it's going to be. Okay. But it's going to be between the two of us. It's not going to be just, oh, hey, I found, and away you go. No, it's going to be sit down, talk, negotiate, whatever. And
ding!
I'm so gonna.
They say you can use the pillow.
I can?
Please don't.
It will be on camera then. Yeah, it's up to you guys.
But, I mean, okay.
You've never even been willing to have this much of a conversation about it.
That's because it's always been
It's not.
with the elephant outside the room involved.
But it never.
Yes, between you and I.
I'm finished.
Between you and I, the elephant outside of the room has always been involved. This is conversation. Always.
And even when I tell you that it's not, it doesn't matter.
Are you letting him finish?
I don't know, am I?
Okay, you know the answer.
Oh,
So,
come on.
yeah. Go ahead.
It's always been involved. That elephant is always involved. Has always been involved. Has always been the negotiating chip. So instead of saying all of this stuff and talking about all of these boundaries and researching everything and developing this out between one another, it's just been, well, no. Elephant. And that's been our downfall, is the elephant. That's where we get, our entire relationship has been crumbling down around us because we don't understand each other. We haven't figured out each other, and 90% of that one's on me because I don't understand. And all of a sudden, we're negotiating an elephant.
So back to where we're agreeing or disagreeing on. Am I hearing you say that you're sold on the veto aspect that she described, or no?
I'm not sold on it.
Okay.
Can I lightly agree to it? Yeah. Softly agree to it? Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm not, like, the partnership thing, it better be extremely strong between the two of us.
Now remember, there is a reason I'm doing this progressively here. If this happens, this happened, this happened, this happened. But like I said,
Yeah, I mean, that's where I'm at. Just, okay, fine, I can see the veto.
okay, not for her sake. That would be something that you can potentially live with. I'm not saying no, that's it, because there's all these ifs, right? If it gets to that point, would that be something that you would do without resenting her, without making her feel, guilty,
Yeah.
ashamed?
Am I gonna take her feelings first off foremost? If she says, no, am I gonna listen to her first? Am I gonna take her feelings into account first? Yes. Because she's the one that's my primary partnership. She's the one that I'm going to. She's going to hold me accountable. I'm going to hold her accountable.
Sure.
So yeah, but she's going to be the one I'm going to go to first. And if it's no, if it's a stern, hard set no from her.
Yeah.
Okay. But this is after negotiating, this is after talking, this is after.
Meaning, and this is the part where I'm trying to get at here. If we imagine a situation like this, I know this is way down the road, right? We have a discussion about an interaction or an individual, and you say no, she says yes, you talk about it, right? Try to convince her, she's not convinced, and she uses the veto card. After all that thorough discussion and attempt to see your side and all that stuff. If she uses that veto card,
Will I be hurt? Yes. If it comes between us, then it's gonna have to end. If that relationship becomes a problem, hindrance,
okay.
then that's a completely different.
And here's where it gets tricky, right? Because what's the point of saying, yeah, I will be okay with that veto, but then I will be hurt? Because if you're on that for the right reason, then you would not have any resentment. And that's why I'm trying to like think about it down the road, because these situations will happen if you take that path.
Yeah.
I'm okay with saying, I think, that would not be okay, because there'll be a different agreement, right? Because if we're saying, okay, different version of this, I'm on board with this veto thing, but if what you're asking for is going to be detrimental for me and I cannot be on board with it, then I'm going to negate your veto. Then that's not really what it is. That's really goes back to the agreement of what I really want a poly, where if we don't agree, we don't do it.
You know what?
Yeah.
Fine, I'll agree to the veto.
No.
That's what I'm.
No.
I'll just agree to it.
I don't want you, okay. Do you think I'm saying agree to it? I'm just trying to help you honest with yourself about what is it that you want or can? That's.
But that's just it, is we're fighting over one subject of.
No, we're drawing a clear boundary.
Yeah, and that's this it is I'm being negated no matter how I turn.
No.
It's
You-
I'm being negated is. Well, guess what? The veto card's out there. That's the only way to
Actually,
take
I'm
this.
fighting against having a veto. I don't think it's ethical. But if it's
Interesting.
something you need, then I will work on it for you.
And that's just it. Is it's.
Do you want veto? I'm saying I don't agree with it, but if it's something that you need, we can work through it.
Yeah, and that's just it. Is it's gotta be, if it's a partnership and you're just gonna blatantly say, well, hey, this is what I found, this is what I'm bringing in, too bad. What kind of a partnership is
That's
that?
not what it is.
But that's kind of what the veto is,
Nope.
or that's what the agreement you're wanting is hey,
No,
too bad if
and,
this is.
no, and I'll repeat it, right? The agreement is not that I'll think, I feel however I want, then I'll bring you up to speed after I make all of these things, right? The moment I'm interested in something, right, I will bring it to you and vice versa. We talk about it, we exchange ideas. If we're on the same page, great, hallelujah, everybody's happy. If we're not on the same page, we're going to spend time to see who's going to convince the other person.
Yeah,
If you fail to convince me, and this is, in that category of, emotional connection, I listened, I heard, but I would like to use that veto.
I guess.
And, again,
Okay.
I'm not gonna accept that because, I guess an okay gives it a lot of that, and it caused problems. So I'm not saying that you have to have an answer for that today, but I'm just saying that's how far we can go in that poly route. Now I heard you interestingly saying, well, if you want the veto, so more along that, because yeah, that's the reverse of it in a sense, right? It's like, if you want to have the veto, I can work on that. Does that mean like you're flipping it on the other side?
I think you misunderstood what I meant.
Okay.
I don't find a veto palatable or ethical. Who am I to determine who you find feelings for? Who clicks with me? I can't take that and say, no, I'm not okay with you feeling that, so it needs to go away. I'm willing to, so long as you're willing to hear me and say, hey, I don't like this because this and this and this and this. And then you say, okay, I hear you, I understand those points.
But
I agree with them or I disagree with them. We addressed it. You heard me. Carry on.
What does that mean? Logistically, like, if the two of you end up talking about something where the two of you are not able to see eye to eye, what would happen then? Because those situations will come up.
I always try and look at everything as objectively as possible to
Sure.
pull my emotions out of the situation and
Sure.
understand every aspect of it. And
Assume we did that, and despite that effort, right, we still end up with the conclusion of we don't see eye to eye on this topic, on this person, on this interaction. Then what?
is it unhealthy?
It's going to be subjective, right?
That's the only thing that would really trigger me into attempting to do
Yeah.
something more drastic than,
Yeah.
okay, I heard you, you hear me, now do whatever, is if it's an unhealthy situation.
Sure, and
It's-
it get dicey because there's a situation where you feel from your vantage point 100% healthy, no problem with it whatsoever, and you would disagree. I can pull a million examples from the last 3 days. Then what?
Tyler doesn't get involved in any of it.
It's fine.
He's got 2 parents.
Okay.
You've already involved him. He's already been subjected to one.
No,
The child doesn't need to be confused when it comes to you and I and our agreements, disagreements.
No, and I don't.
that's an easier parameter to agree on between the two of you as far as, what part Tyler get exposed to the poly life, right? I don't doubt the two are going to be on the same page as far as that goes. Maybe I'm wrong. But to me, if the law is not agreed upon, then it doesn't matter talking about each one of those situations because that law is going to help the two of you navigate each one of those situations. And if this law makes sense to everybody, then guess what? You can interpret everything through that law. Does it fit? Does it not fit?
And that's part of my hurt and discomfort with her is with part of this agreement, is she had already kind of drugged Tyler into it.
And you see, and again, I'm focusing on the present versus the past.
The past is where I'm at.
Okay.
The boy's already been drugged into it to a point.
It wasn't. We've
You-
never
you-
exposed him. No.
He,
No, I don't accept that, and I won't argue with you until the day I die. He's never been
Okay,
exposed to anything.
so
but us being
before
friends.
we get off track, right? We revisited that earlier today, right? And the conclusion was what? I did not go out of my way to say here's a new parental figure, right? I did not intend to any of these things, and what I said is what? Okay, yes, there was no intention, but doesn't mean the byproduct that Tyler made his own assumption about the people he interact with, right?
Mhm.
And the story. So yes, there was impact because a human being, any people we interact with, they're going to impact us. But also on the impact, I did not go out of my way to mess up with his perception.
Right.
Okay, byproduct,
all right,
right?
Yes.
Because we cannot say there's no byproduct.
all right.
Back to the present. Core issue here is what kind of poly partnership that's going to be comfortable for the two of you. And again, we're just entertaining what that would look like. Nobody's saying we're making any decisions today.
The only thing I can say is conditions and veto. Because if we can't be honest with each other and say no, bad juju, then we're not. I mean, after discussion, after that, if it's brought to the table and it's, you're still sitting there going, no, bad juju.
Okay, so again, what I hear clearly is that that's the type of poly partnership that I expect. If we cannot agree on it, whether it's my idea or her idea or whoever it is, if we cannot reach that consensus, then we should not do it.
Okay. All it is one huge battle of maybes right now. Instead of making progress elsewhere and deciding what the fuck we're gonna do with our relationship and how we're gonna move forward, we're fighting about something so far out of the realm in the future, we're not fucking getting anywhere. And now I'm just frustrated. Instead of working on real world problems, we're working on something that can be down the road. I'm just frustrated.
That's okay.
We've circled this for 45 minutes now. And all it is right now I have to give in.
Who's saying that you have to give in?
I do.
Why?
Because it's her wants, it's her needs. This is what she's
Okay, but that
for and with
but
and
that
needing.
that is unfair, right? To say, okay, we're just gonna put all of this about her, everything's about her, we have to do everything that she wants, everything that she needs.
Well, it's kind of hard to negotiate this when you know the person that you're wanting to drag into it.
Okay, and again, I keep keeping this person out, and so here's the part to address your frustration. Why are we spending all this time about this? Who cares about this whole thing? Well, I tell you why I care on my end. Because the reality of your current situation is what? There is a person who exists in the relationship, and the decision about this will help to give clarity on what's going to happen to this person. That's one. Two, this is not just like a perk on the wish list of things that we may and we may not want to have. This is like a core problem between, like, it's like an identity thing. I might be this way, I might be that way. So it's hard for somebody to say, well, let's work on the relationship issues, but I don't really know what this door is, guiding me. Because if we're not honest about what is the end destination, then I'm going to be very disappointed toward the end. A different version of example of this. Let's say we lose our mind to say, you know what, we got this list, let's start working on it, right? And I'm in her position, I'm thinking, we do this, we do our A+ work, everything's going to be great, maybe we can explore poly, or a specific kind of poly. right? On your end, we do this work, everything's great, we're happy. We're just going to be happy being monogamous, and maybe there's no poly into it, period. That's a big difference if the two of you had different destination. Do you see why I'm emphasizing this?
I get it. I understand it.
And I think that's the part where the two of you stuck, because we think about the most last few blow up, whether current or the last few months, it's just been about this circle about poly, not poly, boundaries and not boundaries. And I think part of it is because the two of you are kind of gun shy about getting that conclusion. Can we agree to something that works for everybody, or does somebody have to give in for the other? And I can tell you, giving in, whether you give in to her and she give in to you, you've seen the result. There have been times where she tried to give in and do something that she cannot stick to, or something that does not go well with her, and she failed, right? And vice versa. There were times where we said, go, here's a green light, do all these things, but I'm hurt, I'm upset.
I'm just burned out on it right now, because that's all the argument is right now. It's just circling the same shit we circle and circle and circle. That we've circled for a year and a half, we're circling it again.
And it needs to conclude, because that's an important circle. Is either a way, there is a way for the two of you to be on that same page, right? Or not. Plain and simple. And again, remember, this is only if we're going on the poly route. Okay? Go ahead.
We're at a stalemate, like we always are. This is a stalemate between her and I.
This is what I get when I try and have clear expectations and clear boundaries. So I don't fuck something up. So I understand what I'm agreeing to. So I don't unintentionally cross the line that I didn't even know was there.
Yeah, and that's just it, is I feel that I'm being drugged towards a conclusion.
Then stay your ground.
That's where I'm at, is I'm being drugged to this conclusion of, well, it doesn't matter. As soon as they're all well and good, guess what?
But that is the reality of it, right? Because if I'm on board with step 3, then what should follow next is step 4, right? But
Yeah.
if I fundamentally have a problem with step 3, then great, then stay, then stay your ground. But
And
also,
guess what? Just as soon as it comes down to it, we talk about it. We talk about all the dangers of what's going on, and it's just going to be, oh, guess what? Vetoed.
Okay.
And she's
But-
going to run to it anyways.
Okay, these are a lot of assumptions, but let's say that you're right. Right? Let's say for argument's sake, we agree to this, right? And that's what's going to transpire. And I'll bring Jason back in the room. And, two of you having a discussion of, can he be part of the poly, can he not? And you pitch a case of why you don't think he's poly. And it's going to be something along the lines of, I don't like the guy. I have this, triggers related to infidelity, deceit, some version of this. The response would be, yes, I screwed up. All these things are bad. But look at all these positive, healthy aspects. And the two of you may not agree on eye to eye. She might think it's healthy, and you think, no, it's not healthy because it hurts me, so on and so forth. Did I lose anybody so far? Okay, that's the fast forward version, right? And she pulled the veto card to say, I listened, I tried, right? And truly I listened and I tried, but despite my listening and trying, I still feel the same way, right? Now, if that agreement on the veto in the step 3 was actually done for the right reason, in theory, this should not be a problem, because you're saying, on principle, I do believe that it's okay for you to have, the final say-so on one aspect when it comes to emotional attachment if we cannot agree to it.
Alright.
But no, it's not all right. But I think maybe fundamentally that concept in itself is not something that you can be okay with. It doesn't make you a bad guy. Doesn't make her a bad woman. It's just that's what it is. If that's who you are and that's who she is, then it means that we reach that impasse.
That's the honest conclusion I see coming through. That's the honest conclusion. Am I wrong? Then how am I wrong?
You constantly make assumptions and draw conclusions, and when I try telling you that you're wrong, it just makes it worse. When I get offended because you're not listening to me, it just cements it further that, well, this is what you want. It's the voice in your head that you're listening to instead of my voice. I'm telling you, I'm trying to understand what you need so I can agree to it for the right thing. I'm trying to make sure that everything that we're laying out is something that I can agree to and actually hold to it. Because you say, well, you've went back on your word so many times, I don't even believe you anymore. Well, I went back on my word so many times because I've been giving in and just saying, yeah, okay, whatever, this is what you need, I can do that, this is what you need, I can do that. And it's not something that I can do because it's not something that I need. I am trying to hear you. I'm trying to make sure that we agree, actually agree, there's no ulterior motive. There's no, I'm going to do this so good, so good, so good. Like, I'm going to put 110% into this and I'm going to make you so happy and so comfortable and so much that you're going to be okay with me wanting Jason. That's not what it is. That's your conclusion that you've come to. And me sitting here and saying it's not about Jason, it's not about Jason, it's not about Jason, it's not about Jason, it doesn't matter because in your mind it's about Jason. That's why we're at an impasse, because every time I try to talk to you about anything, well, it's about Jason. No, it's not. It's about me. And I'm sick to death of bringing myself to you and opening up to you and handing you something and saying, hey, look, this is something that you need to know about me. And you saying, that's about Jason, I don't care.
That's it. So again, you're being open with him, he's being open with you. And as much as the conscious effort is to not bring Jason, or this is just about me expressing my needs, has nothing to do with Jason. Jason is a part of this whether we all like it or not, in some way, shape, or form. That is a reality of the past, the reality of the present that we have to deal with. There's no way around it. To me, it's just in terms of how do we resolve that? Not because, outside of him, you guys are going to run the situation in different shapes or form, whether it's in poly, whether it's different thing, whether it's, not being able to have clear expectation or have clear expectation and be able to agree on those expectations. To me, that's what I'm focusing on, that part. Because again, if the law the two of you agree on is healthy for both and nobody feel like they're going without moving from this thing, great. Use that and apply it to Jason and any other situation you guys left. It would be, that's the law, it would be impersonal. This is the agreement and we can measure everything based on that. If it passes, it passes. If it fails, it fails. But right now, I feel like we are at an impasse of what kind of partnership we are envisioning about poly. Indecision and helplessness are two sides of the same coin. When we are confronted with equally difficult decisions, we may feel that we are without a choice. Not liking the options in front of you should not negate the need for taking action, especially during a time of crisis. What are you feeling right now?
Disappointed.
Okay. In what?
We haven't solved a bloody thing between the two of us. We haven't picked a path to even correcting each other. We haven't gotten even to where we're comfortable with one another. But we're arguing over collecting other partners.
Mm.
And we don't even know if we're safe together anymore. And we're arguing about hooking up with other people. We haven't even decided if we're gonna stay together or not.
Okay.
Well,
Can I do a reality check?
And I'm just over.
Can I do a reality check?
Yeah.
Okay. We have a relationship crisis because a big part of, you look at this list, lack of boundaries, lack of expectation, lack of what kind of relationship that we want to have. That's a big part of why we have this mess right now. True or false?
True.
Okay. Same thing on your end, right? Okay. If that clarity is not one of the first things to resolve, none of the stuff on the list matters in the sense. And I'm not saying that these things are not important, but that is like the biggest dysfunction. I do agree that, yeah, the poly, who has the time and the energy for that right now, in terms of a priority-wise, it would be stability, the relationship, seeing we can do these things without outsider influence. But again, to what end? Because if the end of that hard work is going to be, I want this and I want that, then you guys wasted everybody's time. Right? Like I said, the destination is more important than the journey how to get there, because sooner or later the two are going to run into that. And the last thing that we want is to have more missed opportunities, more, wrong assumptions and misleading and lack of clarity. That's not going to do anybody any good. And I know it sounds like it's a meaningless, superficial debate, but it's a core issue between the two of you. Like I said, for me, I'm not picking on that or focusing on that for my own, well-being. It's because it is truly where the two of you are stuck. That's the reason the two of you flew all the way here, right? And it's not an easy thing to fix or conclude, but we cannot shy away from it and distract ourselves from something else. If that's, again, if you have this dry rot and you're just painting over it, soon enough it's going to come back to the surface. Doesn't matter how shiny and pretty that paint is. That's all I can say. And I don't know if it would be, if it would make you feel better or worse, but that's the reality from my vantage point for what it's worth.
we haven't even decided if we're gonna stay together.
I know what I want.
Well, that seems pretty clear to me that there is decision yet to be made on your part that we were gonna stay together, because
No,
golly,
it was
that's why I'm
something-
sitting here.
It was something you said earlier, that we need to make the decision if we're gonna stay together or not until you get help. It was something you said very clearly before we went to lunch. I heard it. Did I misunderstand it?
Did you?
So I'm asking for clarity. That's why I heard it. Did I misunderstand it?
It's whether or not you can sit here and have these hard conversations and take the help that's given and not get pissy and bristly and push both of us away, Because, well, we're just circling the same argument. We're just circling the same argument. It's important.
So I'll pause here because it is important for the two of you to be able to express what you think and what you feel, regardless of how it sounds and how it's going to affect the other person. 1. 2, one of the things that he's actively working on is what? Is to identify his thoughts and feelings and to express them. Right? I don't want him to feel like he has a setup to say, okay, so I'm trying to dig deep and this is what I think and this is what I feel and I share it, and now I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to hear that.
That's not what I meant, but I understand.
Yeah. But again, bring it back to reminding you guys with another thing that the two of you maybe see and lose sight of. It is clear to me that you're here because you want this relationship to work. I don't even see why that needs to be reminded of. It would be silly for the two of you to spend all this time and effort and energy and all this vulnerability if the two of you are not interested in saving this relationship. Is that not clear to you guys? Okay. So, when I'm seeing it, would you trust my observation?
Sure.
Yes,
Yeah.
no? Okay.
I just-
So I don't want to hear back, the argument about, well, do you really want this? Do you not really want this? It's not that the two of you don't want it. It's, are the two of you going to want the same version of what this looks like? That's the part that has not been resolved yet. And the resolution to that part, it would be, again, these are the paths that are available for us. Now again, we don't have to choose today. Remember, that was brought up earlier today, and I think it would be nice if we can just say, okay, let's just wrap this on it and everybody's agreeing. The two of you trying to achieve something that's very difficult, even in best circumstances. So it is expected for this decision to be difficult. What I'm trying to highlight is what, just because it's difficult, it does not mean we give up on ourselves, we give up on our partner, and we just throw our hands in the air. Is that we stick to it until we find a route that works for everybody. Compromise and not sacrifice. Because again, the two of you have sacrificed. Again, list your example on your end, and backfired on everybody. But once that part is resolved, guess what? The recipe is there for the other stuff. But that's like the first obstacle that has to be overcome.
Right. Our issues have been consistent with exactly what he said. We don't know what we're working towards. You're working towards something completely different than what I'm working towards. Because there's misconceptions and misunderstandings, and you're so frustrated and riled up and ready to walk out the door over the fact that, well, we've been working on this one thing for 40 minutes and it's the same thing that we circle around and around and around about, and it just doesn't matter. But if we can't resolve that one thing, then we can't start working on those lists because we're not working towards the same thing. I'm not saying tomorrow, I'm not saying next week. And I've never once said that I want out. What I said before we went to lunch was a fear that no matter what, we're not going to be able to find something that works for both of us. That it's not going to matter how much I'm into this. Like, that's something that I've been afraid of all week, all weekend. When you and I talked about coming to California way back when, That was the first thing I said to you. Is I just want to find a way to make us work. I just want. I want to be with you. I want this to work. I want us. I want that partnership. I want you to be my person. I want you to be my person. But when I'm trying to let you be that person and understand, you push me away. Well, this is just what you want. No, if it was just what I want, then I'd just do it. Your thoughts and feelings wouldn't matter. There would be no agreements.
But that's kind of what we're arguing about this last little while is your thoughts aren't going to matter. I think.
Wrong. Him and I both told you that you're wrong.
So let me pause you here and ask this. What is the conclusion that you think that I'm trying to convey to you guys at this point in time? What's like the take home, like in terms of where we're at?
You're trying to set direction. You're trying to get me to be in a set direction to get us at a pinpoint goal.
The two of you, not just you.
Yes. And that's just it, is it's a terminology. And that's just it, is how can we be a true partnership as if, no, it doesn't matter what you think on this one. I'm going to explore it anyways. That's not a partnership to me. I've done an immense amount of.
No, that's okay. But again, to synthesize it for the two of you. Okay.
I popped my toes.
Is let's agree on the facts. Both of you love the other person and would like to keep them in your life. Yes? Okay. We're disagreeing on what kind of partnership we envision in the future. Forget Jason, no Jason, in general. Big picture. The two of you disagreeing right now or haven't been able to reach an agreed upon what kind of partnership, right? Specifically as it pertains to boundary with others, whether it's poly, non-poly, right? Because remember, the other layer of this is not just poly or not poly, it's appropriate boundaries with others. So far, partnership on her end is defined by we talk about everything, right? Agree or disagree, but there is one aspect where I really think both of us should have an individual last say-so after we exhausted everything. Only certain aspect. Small piece of the pie of that partnership, I think, it lends itself to we talk about it, we try to we try to reach consensus, but if we don't, then the person who has the more stake in this should have the final say-so. That's what I'm hearing for definition of partnership, right? Yes? Yeah. Yours? No, there shouldn't be that whole slice of the pie. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm not saying that she's right. I don't really care who's wrong or who's right. It's a big, beautiful world and different types of relationship. In order for this to resolve, right? We have to find either, you convince her with your point of view or she convinces you with her point of view. Not twist your arm, not, well, I don't want to do it, it doesn't make any sense to me, right? And you're right, we beat this dead horse ad nauseum at this point in time, so I don't think, if we spend more time on it right now that we're going to resolve that.
I guess I can see the point. I can see the point that's being made. I can, yes, and if that's the part of the agreement, if that's the part of the agreement that needs to be honored, then okay. Then fine, I can honor that part. I can come to the realization of I understand. So I get it. I do.
It is absolutely a partnership. But it has to be an equal partnership, and what you're saying, in my opinion, is I get more partnership than you do because my opinion matters more. That's where I'm struggling. It does matter. It absolutely matters. And the partnership in every aspect matters, but it has to be.
I agree with what you said. I get it and I understand. I get it.
Which mean along the lines of on board with your definition of partnership. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, again, I'm pushing back not because I'm trying to be an a-hole, but I want to make sure that everything is dotted. So, I'm not going to say, yes, we will accept this right now because I want the two of you to think more about this, right? Because it is a big step, right? And I appreciate the struggle back and forth to trying to see that perspective, but I want the two of you to sit with that a little before we're saying, yes, this is the final answer. It may be, it may not be, right? Because I don't want this to be like, okay, well, if we don't do this, then we have to split, because if it is, and that's going to be the reason to split, then there's no way around it.
Right.
We should not reach that the wrong way. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Put that on the back burner. We'll say this part is inconclusive right now, right? That there is closer toward possibly getting there, right? And again, if I take you at your word when you're saying that this is what it is, then this leads to that other step of what? Yes, I'm on board with this idea of, poly, where there's a partnership, but there's a part at the end of the day, if we don't agree, then I will respect and value your opinion after the discussion. That bring up what? Not only addressing these things that needed to be fixed, but also, where does Jason, if ever, fit in this picture, right? So if I'm posing that question, and the two of you operating in this, version of poly that you'll be describing, what does that look like?
Not until he's ready.
Okay.
That's what it's always been about, is not until he's ready. Because I know that I did it wrong.
So it would be not until he's ready. Would there be a discussion of should he be there, should he not be there?
That's up to him.
No, follow the role the two of you saying that you're agreeing to, right? Because the role that you're attempting to agreeing to is what? We have this partnership, we both have equal say-so, we will have a dialogue, we will discuss, but if we don't agree, then whoever have the decision will say, thank you, I heard your point of view, but I'm going to go that route. Right? So let's apply that law to the Jason situation. Again, and this is fast-forwarding weeks, months, years down the road. What would that look like? Would there be a discussion, hey, are you okay with having Jason in my life as a poly partner or not, or as a friend or not?
Yes.
Okay. Would there be an attempt to hear his point of view, whether he's okay with that or not okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. What if he's not okay with that?
I honestly don't know. Because that's... That's something that I hope to be able to work towards. It's not what I'm aiming for. It's not the goal. It's not the reason.
Sure.
It would be a perk.
Your response.
Seeing how stable we were. And going forward from here. I guess it would have to be a possibility.
Does it have to be? None of this stuff have to be.
And if that's part of the rules, if that's what we're doing, if that's negotiation, then yeah. If it's gonna be on the table,
Okay.
it's gonna have to be talked about.
What do you think about his response?
He feels like that's the reason that I'm here. Judging by his body language, that's the reason that I'm here. That's not it.
Is that true? Is there anything that she can say to convince you otherwise?
We've spent 3 very intense days talking about our relationship, the aspects of our relationship. And the one thing that's been made very clear is that the two of us want to remain together. On my part, it's very much been so. I want to fix us. I want to fix my fuck ups. I want to fix my issues that I created. With her, it's yes, I want us. Yes, I want us to be okay. And it would just, I don't know as if I took this affirmation on this one or what. The answer just came out. And was always on the table when she came. Most important of all, I want to fix what I've created with you. That's my first and foremost reason for ever coming here. Effort was to fix this, to fix us. To fix what I did, to fix the wrongs that I've done to you, to learn to listen to you.
But part of fixing us is being honest about who we are and what does that mean to each other. Part of fixing us is identifying or ruling out whether I'm poly or not, and if I'm actually poly, what does this mean, and can we make this relationship go or not?
Yeah.
And again, that's where it gets tricky, because that is a key component of it. That doesn't mean that that's the only reason that she's coming here, or she's coming here because of the bonus with the Chase or anybody else.
But
And I understand, because again, he has a different vantage point than you do.
Not that I'm agreeing to the and, but the and negates all of my intentions.
But we're in agreement that the and is on the plate, right? The disagreement is that the and is not the primary motive, and the and does not negate all this other stuff on the plate. Is that, you guys following?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, like I said, let this stuff marinate, right? That's, like, these are the moves on the chessboard, right? I don't want you to say, okay, well, yeah, I'm gonna do this and without any readiness. This is the plan as far as the heavy lifting and the work. Like I said, this is like, the steps, but that's the obstacle, choosing which one of these moves on the chessboard. What stand out in the session we saw in this episode was Ryan's struggle with putting the spotlight on the polyamory dilemma. The struggle manifested through anger, frustration, distraction, and an overall sense of hopelessness. But despite the discomfort, it was crucial to stay the course to help them get closer to making a decision. My hope was to help Ryan discover his true feelings about a future poly relationship independent of Jason, which is very difficult to do because Jason's influence permeates their past, their present, as well as their future. The main idea that needed to be conveyed to Ryan is that if he was truly on board with poly, or truly on board with unconditional poly, then what should follow is applying that concept to not only potential future partners, but also to Jason. Now, from Ryan's vantage point, this may feel like, as he described, being dragged toward Jason, when in reality, it's merely an attempt to help him be honest with himself about what choice he is making and why he is making it. Because the last thing we want for him is to choose unconditional poly without a true buy-in, just to avoid losing Maria, because that is not a sustainable choice. As you have noticed, the episode ended with Ryan's acceptance of an unconditional poly, but the two were asked to take the time to process that decision based on all the discoveries we had so far, which will set the stage for our next discussion about the best parameters needed for their decision to be solidified and acted upon. Until then, be well, be safe, and embrace the possibility for a brighter future.